Hi, this is Mike, WB4HUC, and this is the second video that I've done for the N4PY software. And in this one, I wanted to talk about using CW with the software, operating in CW mode. There's a lot of information in the N4PY help file, but I thought I'd sort of try to break that out a little bit and do a little show and tell of how all those various features work. So we'll start with the CW settings window. So you bring up the settings window if you're not already displaying it. I pretty much keep it displayed all the time. And then scroll down and choose CW settings. A lot of these are self-explanatory, but we'll go through them pretty quickly. You have your side tone volume, spot volume for spotting CW signals. QSK, if you slide the slider all the way down, then it's full QSK, and as you slide it up, the more the delay. And I forget what the maximum amount of delay is. It's not much, 5 seconds, probably not as long as 10 seconds. I'm sure it's in the help file. Keyer speed. Now keyer speed is interesting because this is a 2-slider adjustment. You have your main keyer speed setting here, and then over here on the other side next to the noise blanker slider. So we'll slide that all the way down, and we'll slide keyer speed all the way down. So it looks like we have a minimum keyer speed of 11 words per minute. So let's run that up to, so let's adjust this slider. So it looks like this slider has a fine-tuning range of about 15 words per minute. So if we come back over here and we slide this slider up to 20 words per minute, say, and then we go to the top and it's 35. So this is sort of a fine-tuning for your keyer speed. The speed I generally operate around 18 words per minute. I'm not super fast, so I generally leave this one all the way at the bottom, and I set this one to about 18. And that gives me, keeps me within my comfort zone. If I hear somebody a little slower, I can go all the way down to 11, or if I hear somebody a little faster and I think I can keep up, I can go up to about 25. And that's kind of my range. So I tend to operate the keyer speed like that. The DA weight, the DIT weight, and the between characters, I'm not going to go into those. There's a good explanation of all of these in the help file, and I'll just refer you to that. Here you can select the K1EL keyer or the radio's internal keyer in Curtis Mode A or Curtis Mode B. I operate Mode B. And the software supports the K1EL WinKey keyer version 4 or later, and I won't go into that very much since I don't have one, but again I'll refer you to the help file that has a good explanation of how the software works with the K1EL keyer. The CW rise and fall time is exactly that, and there's an explanation of that if you need it in the OMNI VII Operator's Guide, Operator's Manual. So I'll refer you to that manual for that if you need that explanation. And I think that just about covers the settings window. So and the CW pitch, I forgot that one. So that just sets your transmit offset and your receive CW pitch for your signal. And as you can see, I run it at about 750 hertz. So next we can talk about CW spotting, and of course you normally do that from the radio. You press the spot switch, the radio generates the tone, and you tune the receive signal until the generated tone and the received tone match. I have a problem with that unless the signal is very strong. I don't seem to be able to do that real well. Plus you have to adjust the CW spot tone volume so that it's not louder or weaker than the received signal so that you can hear it. So with the software you can do it that way, or you can do it another way. So here we're listening to, I think this should be the W1AW code practice session. So now when I press the spot button, the spot tone is going to come out of the radio speaker and not out of the computer sound card. So hopefully it's loud enough that you can hear it through this headset microphone. So this won't be the best demonstration, but hopefully you'll get something out of it anyway. So I'll turn the volume back on, and then I'll click the spot. And if you can hear both tones now, that sounds pretty close. So that sounds pretty close, but that's a strong signal, so I was able to do that. So there's another way. If you right-click the spot button, then that causes the software to switch the mode between UCW and LCW. So if you're off tune, you'll hear two different tones for the same signal coming from the speaker. So if I turn this off frequency a little bit and turn the volume back on, and I'm going to right click this spot button, and now you're hearing the two different tones. So you just tune the VFO until you either eliminate or minimize the difference between the two tones, and now you should be spotted to that signal. You can hear a little bit of popping coming out of the receiver as it switches modes, but it goes away when you press the spot switch again. So that's two ways to do spotting, and I prefer the right click method and match the two tones because that's just easier for me to do. So the next thing to talk about is the CW keyboard, and there's a lot to talk about with the CW keyboard. The first thing I'll say is my radio was running at firmware version 1.036, and apparently there's some bug in the firmware that prevents the CW keyboard from working with that firmware version, because when I would try to use the keyboard, it sounded like not all the characters were being transmitted. It was really choppy and it was missing characters, and Carl told me that there was apparently a bug in the firmware that Ten Tec is aware of, and that they'll fix in some future version of the firmware. So what I did was I went back to version 1.035, and that works fine. I guess in 1.036 most of those updates were for remote internet operation of the radio, and I don't really do that, so whatever those improvements were, don't bother me if they're not there. You might be different. If you're a remote user of the Omni 7, you might not want to drop back to the earlier version, but for me that's what I did. So to invoke the keyboard, hold down the Alt key on your computer keyboard and press the K key, the letter K. But first you have to be in the software, and it'll bring up the CW keyboard, and then you'll see this text here above these three sliders, above the TX volume and RF gain sliders. You'll see it'll say CW keyboard here. Now if you're typing in the keyboard and you accidentally press the enter key, what's going to happen is the frequency display is going to go blank. So you can, if you want to stay where you were, you can just left click, go back over here and click your left mouse button, and you'll be back into the CW keyboard. Or I'm going to do it again. You can enter in a frequency, hit the enter key, and then you'll be back in the keyboard. Either way, usually you don't want to change frequency, so I just move the mouse back over here and just click in the keyboard window. The keyboard buffer, so this is the keyboard buffer window is what this is, and the keyboard buffer holds 500 characters. So if you're typing faster than the radio is transmitting, you'll end up you'll stack up characters in the keyboard buffer, but you can stack up a maximum of you can get ahead of the sending by 500 characters. And the CW keyboard uses the radio's internal keyer. You don't need an external keyer, but the software will work with the K1EL WinKey keyer if that keyer is version 4 or later. And the help file has an explanation of how to use the software with the K1EL keyer. I'm not going to talk about that here. So when you're using the CW keyboard, you just, okay, transmitter's disabled. So you just type. All right, I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but right now I'm going to turn it off. So you just type, and as you send as you type the characters, they're transmitted. And you notice you don't really see anything in the keyboard buffer since the radio is sending as fast as I'm typing. So I'm entering those letters about as fast as I could with, 2 fingers, and they still don't really stack up in the keyboard buffer. So they pretty much get sent out as quick as you type. But if you come down here and click transmit full words only, then it'll hold what you type until you press the space bar, because the space bar is the word separator. So press the space bar and then it'll send. And you have to do that even on the last thing you type. So if I type and then I type that and hit the space bar, and then I type a call sign, well, it didn't send it. So even on the last thing you type, hit the space bar. Now, whether you have transmit full words only selected or not, let's say you wanted to type in something fairly lengthy, but you didn't want to send it as you were typing. Maybe you're in a QSO with somebody and you're typing in comments about things that he's saying, and you want to stack that up until you're ready to send it. If you press the F12 key, that'll hold the text in the buffer until you're ready to send it. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to press the F12 key, and then so it's going to hold it there, and I can type until I fill up the buffer, and then to send it, press the F12 key again. So I'm going to press the F12 key again, and now it'll send it. So that's a way to stack up a lot of text in the keyboard buffer and not send it until you're ready to send it. Now, if you did type something in here, and I don't know, maybe your fingers are on the keyboard and you accidentally, you lean on the key a lot. So it's just going to send that whole string of stuff. How do you make it stop? Well, if you just press the escape key, it'll stop. So when you're in the middle of sending text, you want to stop, press the escape key, and it'll stop. And there are several special characters defined. So, whoops, so let me put that back. So if you type in, there are 5 special, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5 special characters. So the dash or the hyphen, we'll send that one. The $sign, we'll send SK. The plus sign, we'll send AR. The shift to the 6, on some keyboards it's an upside down V. The caret on some old-timey keyboards, it might be the vertical bar, I think, I don't recall, but anyway, the shift to the 6 key will send KN, and then the asterisk we'll send that character, which the help file says is for, I guess, traffic handlers, CWNet's traffic handlers. I'm not a traffic handler, so there are 5 special characters defined that you can sort of take shortcuts if you want to. So the next thing to talk about are the CW memories, which you can see here beneath the buffer window. And you can do this in one of 2 ways. You can see that CW memory 4, I just typed it in. So whenever I transmit CW memory 4, it just transmits that text. Memory 5 is empty. And then memory 1 and memory 3, these will send a text file. So to send a text file, put a double quote in front of the name. The file name must be 8 characters or less with no special characters. So I take that to mean it can be A through Z and 0 through 9. And then, probably doesn't have to say .text on it, but just whatever the file name is. And it does have to be, the content of the file has to be just ASCII text characters, not Microsoft Word or anything else, just an ASCII text file. And then when you invoke that memory, it will send that text file. Now that text file needs to be stored in your N4PY software directory, wherever you have the software installed, whatever Windows directory that's installed in, that's where the file needs to be. To send the memory, or to transmit what's in the memory, you can do it a couple of different ways. You can use these buttons down here that have these little legends on them. And this is memory 1, memory 2, memory 3, memory 4, memory 5. Or you can use the F keys on your keyboard, F1 through F5, to send those memories. So if I press the CQ button, that will send memory 4. And then if you want to get out of that, just hit the escape key. So to define these little legends on the front of these buttons, you go to the here we go, the RTTY keyboard settings, and you define them. They're up to 3 characters. You just type in the characters you want, and then they'll show up over here. So if you another way to stop the memory from sending, so if I invoke CW memory number 4 again, if you right click on any of these or click on it with the right mouse button, and that'll stop it, as well as hitting the escape key. So that's another way to stop from sending. Now you can sort of stack memories. So if you had, sometimes you wanted to send CW memory 1 by itself, and sometimes you wanted to send CW memory 4 right behind it. You can type in a £, and then the number of the memory that you want to add on to what is being sent. So if I say 4 and hit the enter key, and then it'll go over here to memory 5, it'll send memory number 4. And so it should do that. So it's sending what's in front, and then it's sending memory number 4 behind that. So that's just a way to send more than one memory at a time if you want to do that. So the last thing then is if the CW keyboard is up and you change modes, the keyboard will go away, of course, since you don't use the CW keyboard except in CW mode. And then if you go back to CW mode, the keyboard reappears. Or you can press Alt-K and do away with it. Or you can click Hide, and that will hide it, and press Alt-K twice to bring it back. So I believe that is all that I wanted to show using, let me just check my notes here. So yep, I think that's all I had to say about that. The CW keyboard will do a lot of stuff, and the help file is there. Just read the help file, and it will hopefully guide you into the use of anything. Maybe questions that I didn't answer, whatever, should be in the help file. So thank you for watching, and 73.